top performers from a programming perspective that are still like openly talking about it. But everyone's using PHP. Like if you look at most of the web is still probably PHP and jQuery.
70%. It's because of WordPress, right? Because the blogs are.
Wow, that's a quite interesting number. A lot of websites, yes, they do use PHP. The majority of them are usually WordPress. There are lots of blogs all around the internet, and it's quite interesting. Looks like they are going to say that the best programming language for the web is PHP. So let's hear more from them.
I'm seeing a revival now. People are getting sick of frameworks. Like all the JavaScript frameworks are so like, what do you call it, like wieldy. Like it takes so much work to just maintain this code. And then it updates to a new version. You need to change everything. PHP just stays the same and works.
Yeah.
And
can you actually just speak?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I totally agree here with him. It's really tiring to have to deal with lots of JavaScript frameworks. Nowadays we have React, we have Vue.js, Angular, and Svelte as well. So there are lots of things going on, and it's really hard to keep up and keep things up to date. Every single NPM update seems to break things all over the place, which is not good. Only one thing here that I don't know if I fully agree with him is that he was saying that all of these JavaScript frameworks, they keep evolving or changing, and then PHP never changes. But PHP is really a back-end language, so it's not a pure front-end. If we're talking about building a single monolith, yeah, it could work. Just you didn't even need JavaScript, just write everything from the server side. It's an interesting take, so let's hear more about that.
To that stack, you build all your websites, apps, startups, projects, all of that with mostly vanilla HTML.
yeah.
JavaScript with jQuery, PHP, and SQLite. So
I still don't get why he was laughing here. I think he said SQLite for the stack. I don't know if that was some typo there. Should be MySQL. People use the LAMP stack, so that's Linux, Apache, PHP, and MySQL. I don't know where the SQLite came from here, but that was quite interesting and funny to hear.
That's a really simple stack, and you get stuff done really fast with that. Can you just speak to the philosophy behind that?
I think it's accidental because that's the thing I knew. Like I knew PHP, I knew HTML, CSS, because you make websites. And when my startup started taking off, I didn't have time to. I remember putting on my to-do list like learn Node.js because it's important to switch, because this obviously is a much better language than PHP. And I never learned it. I never did it because I didn't have time. These things were growing like this, and I was launching more projects, and I never had time. It's like one day, I'll start coding properly, and I never got to it.
I sometimes wonder if I need to learn that stuff. That's still to do item for me.
Yeah, that's another interesting take, to reuse whatever knowledge we already have for building software. A lot of people, myself included, so I cannot remove myself from this pool. We usually tend to try to get to the cutting edge technologies, learning new things to build a product, but most of the times the end user, they do not care about which technology the product was built. What they want is to have that product working and fulfilling their needs. And that's really interesting. Just take advantage of the existing skills to build a new product.
You need to really learn Node.js or Flask or these kind of
React, Vue.
Yeah, React. It feels like a responsible software engineer should know how to use these. But you can get stuff done so fast with vanilla versions of stuff.
Yeah. It's like software developers, if you want to get a job, and there's like, people making stuff, like startups. And if you want to be entrepreneur, probably maybe you shouldn't. Right?
I wonder if there's like...
Okay. That's a very interesting take, and another very important one. What he said is, it depends on which road we want to go. If you want to get a job or build something by ourselves or become an entrepreneur. And that's quite interesting because most of the jobs, they will require us to go through a few very specific technologies. Let's say the majority of web applications, they are now running in React or Angular, for example. Backend will have Java, Golang, C, and C++. So it's kind of more rigid environment where we have to learn those skills to get a job. On the other side of the spectrum, if we want to build something by ourselves or have our own startup, we can pretty much use anything we want. So PHP, Python, Flask, Java, or I don't know, Rust, or anything we want. So there is a nice distinction here where we want to go as a developer.
I really want to measure performance and speed. I think there's a deep wisdom in that.
Yeah.
I do think that frameworks and just constantly wanting to learn the new thing, this complicated way of software engineering gets in the way. I'm not sure what to say about that, because definitely, like, you shouldn't build everything from just vanilla JavaScript or vanilla C, for example.
Yeah.
C++, when you're building systems engineering, is like, there's a lot of benefits for a pointer safety and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know, but it just feels like you can get so much more stuff done if you don't care about how you do it.
Man, this is my most controversial take, I think, and maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like there's frameworks now that raise money. They raise a lot of money, like they raise.
Okay, before he goes there, I'm gonna even return a little bit here. Yeah, I do agree. Sometimes we can simply use some vanilla stuff to develop a product, so you don't need any extra stuff. But there are many websites and many products that they were built using pretty much as much vanilla foundation as possible. But again, software engineering and development is always about measuring the best case scenario or the best technologies for the job. And I have to tell you guys that it's never, it's not always that easy to really to pick the best solution for a specific problem.
Man, this is my most controversial take, I think, and maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like there's frameworks now that raise money. They raise a lot of money, like they raise $50 million, $100 million, $300 million. And the idea is that you need to make the developers, the new developers, like when you're 18 or 20 years old, right? Get them to use this framework and then add a platform to it, like where the framework can, it's open source, but you probably should use the platform, which is paid, to use it. And the cost of the platforms to host it are 1,000 times higher than just hosting it on a simple AWS server or a VPS on DigitalOcean, right? So there's obviously like a monetary incentive here. Like we want to get a lot of developers to use this technology, and then we need to charge them money because they're going to use it in startups, and then the startups can pay for the bills. But it kind of destroys the information out there about learning to code, because they pay YouTubers, they pay influencers, developer influencers. It's a big thing to like. And same thing what happens with like nutrition and fitness or something. Same thing happens in developing. They pay these influencers to promote this stuff, use it, make stuff with it, make demo products with it. And then a lot of people are like, wow, use this. And I started noticing this because when I would ship my stuff, people would ask me, what are you using?
Yeah, that's an interesting take. And I really wish he had given us more details about what are the products he's talking about and which are these companies that they are pushing these frameworks and trying to sell services. This one was kind of a strange take because usually these open source frameworks, for example React, it was born in Facebook or Meta. I'm not sure, I can't remember if there's a way to compete against Angular or was a new take, and because they had their specific needs, so they created that framework just to fulfill their needs at Meta, and then they published that to the public. I don't know, I can't imagine or see them selling, maybe, I don't know, maybe someone else is selling those services, but that was an interesting take, which I do not agree. On the other hand, there are many open source products that that people usually build them and then charge for services, which is completely fine. So if you're providing a good service, so you should charge for that as well. But on the context here of this chat, I don't know, I disagree about Spark here. I really wish he had given more details and a little bit of evidence of who is doing that.
I would say just PHP, jQuery, why does it matter? And people would start kind of attacking me like, why are you not using this new technology, this new framework, this new thing? And I say, I don't know, because this PHP thing works, and I'm optimizing for anything, it just works. And I never understood like why. Like I understand there's new technologies that are better, and there should be improvement. But I'm very suspicious of money, just like lobbying. There's money in this developer framework scene. There's hundreds of millions that goes to ads or influence or whatever. It can't all go to developers. You don't need so many developers for a framework, and it's open source to make a lot of more money on these startups.
So that's a really good perspective, but.
Again, as I said, that's a kind of feeling. I don't agree with that. I think the majority of people that are really concerned about technology are developers, us. So we really worry about doing the best thing or building the best product with the cutting edge technology. But yeah, that is very interesting take.
In addition to that is like when you say better, can we get some data on the better? Because like I want to know from the individual developer perspective, and then from a team of 5, team of 10, team of 20 developers.
Yeah.
Measure how productive they are in shipping features, how many bugs they create, how many security holes.
PHP was not good with security for a while, but now it's good.
In theory, is it though?
Now it's good.
Now as you're saying it, I want to know if that's true, because PHP was just the majority of websites on the internet.
Could be true.
Is it just overrepresented? Same with WordPress.
Yeah.
Yes, there's a reputation that WordPress has a gigantic number of security holes. I don't know if that's true. I know it gets attacked a lot because it's so popular. It definitely does have security holes, but maybe a lot of other systems have security holes as well. Anyway, I just sort of questioning the.
It's really hard to measure, to have those metrics. Lex was selling. Just give a set of developers, giving technology X, Y, and Z, how well they can build a product and deliver with speed and less bugs. It is extremely hard to get those metrics, and believe me, there are lots of people that to this day they're still working on building these metrics as well. It is hard, because things are not always that straightforward whenever developing a product. There are many things that we cannot foresee them beforehand. And I don't know, I think that take is nearly impossible to get to that point. And yeah, for sure, PHP is overly represented. Again, as he pointed out, once a technology becomes mainstream, people will try to attack or break that thing more often. There is nothing wrong using older technologies to build products. I do believe that PHP still works. So up to now, there are products that have been built using PHP.
Conventional wisdom that keeps wanting to push software engineers, super complicated sort of software engineering approaches that stretch out the time it takes to actually build a thing.
100%. And it's the same thing with big corporations. Like 80% of the people don't do anything. It's like It's not efficient. And if your benchmark is like people building stuff that actually gets done, and like for society, right? Like if we want to save time, we should probably use technology that's simple, that's pragmatic, that's like that works, that's not overly complicated, doesn't make your life like a living hell, you know.
And use a framework when it obviously solves a problem, a direct problem that you.
Of course, of course. I'm not saying you should code without a framework. You should use whatever you want, but yeah, I think it's suspicious, you know. And and I think it's suspicious when I talk about it on Twitter. Like there's this army comes out, you know. There's these framework armies.
Again, he's really suspicious about the frameworks army. It's a hunch. It's not something that he can back up with data. And I bet the majority of these people, they are really passionate developers who wants to get to the latest technology. I don't think there is any conspiracy behind this thing.
Tells me.
I want to ask the framework army, what have they built this week? It's the Elon question. What did you do this week?
Yeah, and did you make money with it? You know, did you
The
charge
framework
users?
army.
Is it a real business? And
That's kind of a really interesting take on web development. Yeah, there are many technologies around that can be used for creating a new web application or a new product. And not necessarily we are tied or obligated to use the cutting edge stuff.